The ultimate goal when producing a script in R is to be able to rerun those analyses on a single click. The first step is to make sure your code runs anywhere. This is important for class because your code has to run on my computer when I'm grading, and it's also important for science. So, when you come back to your code after a few days or weeks, can that code function again? And can it function when you're moving between a desktop versus a laptop? Can it function when you pass that code along to collaborators or to your advisor? And you want to make sure that things you did before don't matter because computers store the results of each command run in sequence. So if you change something, it might look like it still works, but it only works because of something you did earlier in the same session. Let's see an example of this by starting a new project. I'm going to close the project that I'm in. And I don't want to save the .r data because that saves information that is particular to the project. So I want a new project, file, new project, new directory, new project. And in this, I want to call something like portal. We'll be working with the portal project data. And create project as subdirectory of data side. That's good. Create project. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a new folder called data and a new script. And I'll save it as maybe portal mammals. Okay. Now I want to navigate to our, to our canvas and download the surveys and species. There we go. Download the surveys and species data into that new data file by right-clicking, save link as, and I want to download, navigate to that new project portal data. And I had it downloaded, so it automatically appends this one, but because I'm moving the file, there's no existing copy. So surveys and species. Data folder, file name. Oh, that's a weird file name. This should be species.csv. I'll fix that. Okay, I fixed it. So right-click, save link as species CSV file. It's in that data folder. So see. All right, now I want to navigate back to the R share screen. Okay, now we're back. All right, so if I look in that data file, I should have those two files there. I've started a new project, created the new data subdirectory, downloaded the data. Now I'm ready to read that data in. So I'll create a new object called data mammals, read.csv, and data folder surveys.csv. And I run that code and I see the object appear. Okay, now I want to calculate the average mass. Creating this object called average mass, using the mean function of data mammals on column weight. There it is. And NA that remove equals true. Remember, the mean doesn't know how to handle NAs. Okay, and then I'm ready to add in the species data. So data, but this data mammals probably isn't descriptive enough because I have mammal surveys as well as mammal species. So I want to change this to maybe data surveys. And now I can read in data species, read.csv, data species.csv. Okay, so I've got data surveys, data species, and I'm going to rerun my code. And it appears to work. But will it work after I restart R? No, because the code doesn't create this data mammals anymore. So read through code. Now we're calling data surveys. We're calculating average mass, but we're still using that data mammals that we had created to begin with. So let's clear, and it appeared to run though. It appeared to run because this data mammals object was saved in our environment. So let's use this broom icon to clear the R environment. Are you sure you want to remove all object? In this case, yes. Doing that doesn't unload packages, and it's useful when developing code because you can check to see what works. All right, and now we receive that error message when I run line by line because data mammals isn't found, so I need to substitute the object name. You can also restart R to get a clean environment. So file, no, it's under session, restart R. And this does unload any packages that you have loaded. And this is useful for making sure everything works from loading your libraries to reading in the data. You want to stop R from storing the state of the environment. When you close RStudio, it will often ask if you want to save your workspace. So let's start to close RStudio. Oh, that's not my, let's close RStudio. Or even we can close the project. And we receive the same error message. Do you want to save workspace to .rdata? And if you save the workspace image, this will reload all your kind of environment, even when you restart R as described above. So you don't ever want to save this because it make it hard to see potential errors. So we want to stop this, right? If you receive this error message, always say don't save, but we want to avoid this error message to begin with. So we want to select from Tools, Global Options, General, and we'll see Save Workspace to our data on exit. We want to select Never. And we also want to unclick Restore .our data into Workspace at Startup if it's selected. So we want this blank. This will ensure that there's no prior information or prior variables or environment settings that will affect your data. So to make sure your code works on other computers, don't use set working directory. And it's important that you know about it because your collaborators might use it. Now you can teach them a better way. Instead of set working directory, we want to use projects. We want to use projects with these nice containers, as well as the relative paths. Let me bring up that relative path, right? So this is not specific to any single computer and can be run on any computer now or in the future. You want to write code that works on all operating systems. So assume case specificity. R is case specific. That means if you had a capital letter R, it would not find the function, even though you know that function exists, is because you had this typo. File names in the code should match the file names in your folders, including capitalization. And you want to make sure you use the / instead of the backslash that you get when you're looking at the file structure on a computer. We can use print, the print function, to print out text that you want the person running your code to see. And I'm not sure that I ran this one, so I'll run it again. And you can use the print function to print out text, and you want to print out your answers to each homework exercise. When I code, I often experiment, and then when I'm ready to save that code, I'll remove experiments from that code. When I know that code is ready to go, ready to be passed along, I'll remove those experiments. So those are things that were just for me, and we'll see if we need to use install packages. To install new packages, you also want to remove those from your code because you want to avoid reinstalling packages on other people's computers. And if you really want to keep it, comment it out. Say something like install packages if not installed already, right? And then you can comment this out, but still have the code, right? Maybe this is like dplyr or ggplot2, something like that. All right, so these are some of the practices that we'll use when submitting our assignments. We'll use the project structure. You'll compress an entire project folder and you'll send that along, which should contain a data folder, and I should be able to see that data folder in your calls to bring that data, to import that data into R.